Well, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be back. I think some of you may have met me when I presented back in January, February. I forget which. It was a long time ago. But I'm happy to be back. I'm really excited about what I'm going to be sharing with you today. The title is 9 Wine Marketing Tips for 2022. But since the year's almost over, rest assured you can take these tips right into 2023. I do want to get to your questions. I'll keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A, but I'm going to save some time at the end in case we don't get to them through the presentation. So with that, I'm going to just jump right in. I want to hear from you in the chat. Does any of this sound like you? And you can just put the letter that corresponds with how you're feeling in the chat. You can even use all of these things. Too much to do, not enough people to do it, limited budget, not really sure how to allocate the funds. You want to turn your social fans into paying customers. Who doesn't want that? Not happy with the performance of your 3-tier distributors, if you've got them. Want to grow your wine club memberships. You want more visitors to your winery, or you want to get more DTC sales. As a consultant to wineries and distilleries all over the world, these are the types of issues that come up over and over. So I wanted to just check in with the crowd that's here today. Anybody feeling any of these things? I don't see, there might be a little delay. I don't see anything in the chat. Hold on. No? Is everything okay technically? There we go. There's a little Q&A. Oh, it says chat is disabled. Can someone on the New York Grape team enable the chat? Okay, we'll have to come back to that while they're working on getting the chat disabled. Without even seeing any comments in the chat, my guess is that many of you resonate with these issues. So, oh, there goes the chat.
Yep, sorry about that.
Okay, great. Yeah, the social fans thing. We're going to cover a lot of this today. All of them, yes. Most people say all of them. Okay, good. Well, then you're in for a fun little session here. Let's see. The environment, the first thing I want to share with you before I get into the 9 things is you really have to take a minute and assess how much the environment has changed. Not just in New York, but everywhere, but especially in New York. And, you know, we're so busy operating our day-to-day businesses, we don't often stop and think or look around to see what's really happening. And these are the big things. There's far more wine brands than ever before. Did you know there's 30% more wineries in New York State than there was in 2018? You probably know that if not. And I've got some real numbers to show you. There's fewer distributors, more brands. It's just created a lot of headwinds. And the use of technology it's an imperative now, and yet there's a big learning curve. And so who has time to stop and take in the learning curve? I'm going to be presenting a lot of stuff today that falls in this category, and I want to invite you to be patient with yourself. One small step at a time, crawl, walk, run. But these are the big things that are changing in the environment. VinePair every few years puts out this data, and I just grabbed this recently. In the whole country, there are 32% more wineries than there were. We're up to 16,000 wineries in the US. The big surprise is Texas now has more wineries than Oregon, almost 1,000 wineries in Texas. That's a 61% growth from 3 years ago. But look at New York. You had 577 in 2018. You have almost 750 now. So that means more competition for your tasting room visitors, more competition for your DTC sales, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. So the good news is most people will not take the time to learn the things I'm going to share with you today. Most people will not take the time to implement them. So you have opportunities to go ahead of the pack a bit. Let me just check the chat real quick. Okay. So why would you listen to me? I mean, thank you for the introduction. Just a little bit about a little more granularity. I started in the business in 1984, selling wine for a wine distributor in Houston. And I've spent my whole career selling. I was a sales executive at St. Michel Wine Estates and Glaziers. So I have a track record of success and I know what I'm talking about. And for the last 8.5 years, I have coached and trained winery owners, marketing and sales executives, and distillery owners on how to grow sales. That's my specialty, is how to grow sales. So I'm excited to share this stuff with you today. Let's dive right in. A quick question for you. You don't have to respond, just consider this. Are you inhibiting 60% of your website visitors without even knowing it? I think some of you might be, and maybe you never stop to think about this. And this leads us to our first of the 9. You must adopt a mobile-first mindset. Now, I'm sure 95% of you have a website that looks just great on a mobile device. I'm talking about much more than that. Some of you may have websites that are not. But the truth is, 60% of your web visitors, and if you haven't looked at your own Google Analytics lately, you should go look at this data point. What percentage of your visitors on a monthly basis are viewing your website via mobile versus desktop? Industry-wide, it's 60%. So you have to have a mobile-first mindset, and I'm going to get into exactly what to do about this. The first thing is the age gate. If you have an age gate on your website, when you're on a mobile phone, it is extremely tedious to fill out one of these forms on the right. It's even tedious to do it on a desktop. This is a sure way to scare people away from your website. There's no way people are going to take the time to fill out this form on that tiny little screen. What you need is something like this, just yes or no. Or it could even be simpler than that, just one button confirming that you're of legal drinking age. It just astounds me how many people are forcing them to go through these hoops. People won't do it. They just won't do it. They're too busy. It's too much of a pain. And, you know, I have big hands and fat fingers, and just, I'm going to bolt. I'm not going to do it. So that's one of the first things you can do to make your website mobile friendly. I don't mean to pick on this winery. It's a Texas winery, but I took a screenshot from my cell phone. You see right at the top where it says Benjamin's iPhone. This is literally what I saw on the screen when I visited this website. The website's more than 10 years old. It has never been optimized for mobile. It's almost impossible to navigate. Now, I'm hoping that you don't have a website that's this bad, but please pick up your phone and look at your own website. Don't just look at how it looks here, but try navigating around. Do you have to open up the screen just so you can get a button to click on? These are very important things. A real good takeaway for all of you today is to go to this website. You can just search Google mobile friendly. Is your website page mobile friendly? You pop in your URL and you're going to get one of these 2 messages. Your page is usable on mobile or it's not. And then it'll give you the details of what you can do to improve it. So you really, really have to step into this. Here's some quick best practices for you about making sure you have a mobile first mindset. All of your images on your website need to be compact and fast loading. How do you test that? Get on the website yourself with your own phone. See if there's any delay, any lag. The days of having lots and lots of stuff in writing, lots of copy in your website are really gone. You can have that, but you put it towards the back. Make people dig deeper for that. Your copy needs to be very simple. The text on your website needs to be very simple. People want to make as few clicks as possible to purchase your wine, to look around your website. So your shopping experience needs to be simple and seamless. If any kind of friction, people are going to bounce. You need to have your web developer create a situation where if someone enters their credit card information or enters any kind of information, that it saves it for future use so they don't have to keep re-entering it. Some of you have age gates on your website and it says, see this, use a cookie to remember me, but it doesn't work and people have to keep entering it. And lastly, make sure that the links to your social sites are working. A lot of people have links on their website, takes them to the social page and they don't work or they're hard to find. One thing you can count on when somebody is viewing your website on a mobile phone, they probably have already been perusing social media and they may flip back there. So this is a mindset. This is a mobile first mindset. See the world the way 60% of your visitors see you. I hope this makes sense. Okay, number 2, digital lead generation. This is going to be brand new for a lot of you. And I think I spoke briefly about this when I was here last in February. Don't get all freaked out or scared about this. It's not as hard as you think. It all starts with creating a lead magnet, giving away something of value for free. It could be a guide, a checklist, a how-to, a template, a white paper. It could even be a video. It could be a little cooking video of, making pasta carbonara or something. But people want to give you their email address so they can get this lead magnet. One of my most popular lead magnets, the Modern Playbook Guide to Selling Wine and Spirits Remotely, which I created during the pandemic to help wineries everywhere who were stuck at home and their salespeople couldn't get out and sell. I grew my email list by 357 people by giving away this lead magnet. Growing your email list is super, super important, and you can take full control over this. Let me talk a little more deeply about this. This looks a little scary, but it's really not. And I have tons of free resources that will walk you through step by step how to set all this up. But once it's set up, it's like printing money. You're growing your email list at far greater rates than you would have otherwise. And you don't have to spend money on Facebook and Instagram ads. You could have this as a pop-up on your website or occasionally post it to your social feed. What you need is a lead magnet. In this case, this is from Ron Rubin Winery. They created a Chardonnay Lover's Style Guide. It was a simple 2 or 3 page PDF. Then you build a landing page in your email software to receive the email contact information and deliver the lead magnet. Then if you really want to put this on steroids, you can run some Facebook and Instagram ads advertising your lead magnet. So this was a Chardonnay Lover Style Guide. Download the guide, takes you to the landing page. You fill out the form. Then you can set up an automated nurture sequence, because when those new subscribers come in, you want to have them automatically nurtured, where you're building trust and building a relationship with them. So I won't have time today to walk you through this whole process, but I want you to see it's really not that hard. If I can do it, anyone can do it. And I use it with great effectiveness. Here's a couple of examples of lead magnets that our clients have created. The one on the right is from Mira Winery, The Busy Person's Guide to Buying Wine Online. This was highly successful, generated hundreds of new wine-loving subscribers to their email list. This is from Chateau du Parc. Tom Sullivan owns 4 chateaus in France. He is a wealthy man who made his money. He owns a company called Cabinets to Go. Before that, he was Lumber Liquidators. He spent a lot of money on his ads, but using this simple this simple lead magnet, he generated thousands of new email subscribers that he can now nurture and put offers in front of. So lead magnets are the bomb. And you don't have to be a graphic designer. You don't have to be a copywriter. Start small and work from there. Just this last week, as I was preparing for this talk, I saw on my Facebook feed, on my phone, these are screenshots from my phone, that Beaulieu Vineyard had a lead magnet. And I'm seeing more and more and more of these. And no matter how tiny your winery is and how small your budget is, you can do it too. You can do exactly what BV is doing here. So they're giving a free guide to cellaring wine. I kind of feel like they ripped off one of my clients, but who knows? This is a Facebook lead ad. So inside the Facebook app, without ever leaving the Facebook app, you click download, this form pops up. It pre-populated with your contact information. Please don't laugh at my AOL address. When I signed up for Facebook, that was my email address, however many years ago. When you click next there, it tells you to grab your guide. So they're enrolling people to your email list right there in the Facebook app. Facebook makes it super easy to do digital lead generation. Here's just a few more examples before we move on to number 3. This is what the ads look like. They're not promoting their wines. They're not saying shop now. The call to action isn't buy now, shop now. It's sign up, subscribe. That is the game. You attract people with Facebook and Instagram ads, and then you sell to them with email. So let me check, make sure you're all still with me. Nothing in the chat. Okay. Digital 3-tier. Now, this isn't going to apply to all of you. In fact, if you sell all the wine you make in your tasting room and online, you probably don't have any need for going into the 3-tier world. But for many of you, you're either already in the 3-tier world or you want to be. I want to make sure you understand that there's a digital option, and that is LibDib. LibDib is a digital provider of distributor services. You don't need to run around the country meeting with distributors trying to get them to carry your brand. You could literally sign up this afternoon and start selling online. Now, you still have to drive traffic to these sites, but it could be a real game changer if you're looking for new ways to sell. If your tasting room traffic has been diminishing because of all the new competitors near you, you have to make up those sales somewhere. And this could be a fantastic way to do it. You don't need to hire salespeople. You don't need to spend a lot of money. You just need to learn the LibDib way of doing things. Because when it comes down to it, there's really 3 ways to play the game. The traditional brick and mortar distributor, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, digital 3-tier, which is LibDib, and then wine and spirits direct, which is something I'm going to talk about in just a bit. I have a great video on my YouTube channel called The Role of a Wine Distributor that really explains what you can and can't expect when you get into this world. A little bit more about LibDib, and then I'm going to expand on this. If you don't have time to watch the video, I'm going to tell you the punchline. So LibDib is in 12 states, more coming all the time. Here's a list of the 12 states. They're a partner with RNDC, and their product called RNDC. But basically, restaurants, bars, wine shops, they go online and order the product right there online. It's quite ingenious. So for today, if you're not really familiar with this, just look into it further. Go to the LibDib website. Tell them I sent you. It could be a game changer for many of you. I'm gonna see something in the chat. I'm gonna take a quick drink of water.
Real quick, Ben, there's a question that came in. Rob says, I heard there was a recent TTB ruling that could affect wholesale clearinghouses like LibDib. Have you heard about it?
If there was such a thing, I'm sure I would have heard about it. But let's be clear, LibDib is not a clearinghouse. They're they're as legitimate of a distributor as Southern Glazer's, RNDC, Breakthrough. There's a lot of misinformation, I think, about LibDib. They're a legally compliant distributor. I promise you they wouldn't be partners with RNDC if they weren't. And they're not a clearing distributor. That's a different ball of wax, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So no, I don't know of any such ruling like that. I guess it's possible, but I haven't heard about it. So I'll continue to keep my ear to the ground.
Okay. And then another thing that comes in says, is it possible to opt in to only certain states in LibDib? And I do want to let folks know that we are looking to hopefully do some kind of informational webinar for you in the future on LibDib. But Ben, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I work really closely with LibDib. I send them a lot of business. You don't have to use all their states. You just pick the ones you want. So if you're not in 3-tier now in New York, you might want to start with New York. But then you could dip your toe into some other big markets, like Florida would be a good one. You don't need to, get into warehousing and all that stuff. LibDib can walk you through the whole thing. It costs you nothing. They only make money when the wine gets shipped. They only make money when somebody orders your wine. So I strongly encourage you to look into LibDib. I think we had another quick question here. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Brittany, for your comment. But Brittany, that is a completely different ball of wax. We're not talking about direct to consumer here. We're talking about direct B2B. So they don't have that services. Okay. Winery direct deals. Now here's another one. In fact, if you don't listen to anything else I say today, this could be a game changer for you. If you're not familiar with the Winery Direct game, look no further than Total Wine & More. Total Wine & More really kind of invented this game, if you will. If they didn't invent it, they sure did perfect it. The idea is to partner with wineries and have a relationship where they use a clearing distributor, not a clearing distributor. For example, down in Texas, both Specs and Goody Goody do Winery Direct deals. They each have a clearing distributor that brings the goods legally into the state, and they only charge a processing fee of like $5 to $8 a case, as opposed to the 30% markup that a traditional distributor would do. This allows the retailer to make a much fatter profit margin. So these clearing distributors, which are completely legal, they cut out the middlemen because they're not really taking possession of the goods. They're bumping the dock in a legally compliant way. I promise you, none of this is illegal. It's happening all over the place. And some of the biggest retailers in New York do this quite a bit. You can always tell when someone's doing a winery direct or spirits direct because you don't recognize any of the brands. That's part of the game. The consumer has no way of comparing the prices to see if they're getting a good deal or not. So when you buy a $10 bottle of Chardonnay in one of these places, they might have only paid $3 for it or $2 for it, but you have no way of knowing. But this is a big deal. It drives a lot of business in major retailers all across the country. And I want to invite you to look into it. You would do this before you assign a traditional 3-tier distributor in a particular state. The first deal I ever assisted on this was for a consulting client in Washington State. They'd never done business in Texas before. They were, most of their wine was sold in Washington State. Their first order was $97,000 and 1,200 cases. It was a complete truckload. 6 months later, the account bought another truckload. This stuff is real, and it could be a real game changer. Now, maybe you don't have 1,200 cases. It doesn't matter. You can learn how to play the game. So I want to invite you to learn how to play the game. This is free. Go to winesalestimulator.com. Look for how to do winery direct deals. It's a recording of a webinar that I did where I explain exactly how this game works. So if this has intrigued you, please go check that out. All right, let's talk about prioritizing email marketing. So many wineries, this is what they think of when they think of email marketing. Their monthly newsletter and wine club pickup notices. Well, these are not the most powerful features of email marketing. Modern email marketing is all about automation, segmentation, personalization, and I want to share what some of that looks like today. I'm inviting you to take your email game to the next level because there's a direct relationship between the amount of wine you sell, both D2C and B2B, is perfectly correlated to the size and engagement of your email list. So you must be constantly growing that email list. It should be your number one sales tool. I know some of you might think that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's not. It's the lowest cost, biggest bang for your buck that you can do when it comes to marketing and selling your wines. Really easy to measure the ROI, and you can't say that about a lot of marketing and advertising things. It's not about newsletters and blasts. I have a great video on my YouTube channel called The Anti-Email Newsletter Strategy, if you haven't seen that. This is also first-party data. All the fans and followers you have on Facebook and Instagram, that could go away tomorrow. No one can take your email list. If you're on MailChimp and you have an email list, even MailChimp can't take away your email list. This first-party data is really critical. This email allows you to speak directly to customers and trade buyers. And don't let anyone tell you that nobody reads email. What they don't read are boring newsletters. They don't read lengthy emails that don't have a point. They don't read emails that don't state why they're writing in the very first sentence or in the subject line. People do something like 99% of adults are opening email every day. And automation is so fun to take advantage of. So here's a quick checklist for success. I'm not going to read through each of these today because I've got a few highlights in the slides that follow, but you're going to be getting a recording of this webinar. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this right now with your phone. Go through this checklist and make sure you can check all the boxes. Anytime you want or you have a question, feel free to email me. I'll be sharing my email address at the end. I'm happy to help answer questions about this. But this is exciting. This is well within your control. Doesn't cost you a lot of money, just a little bit of time on the learning curve, but it could really be a game changer for your sales. Okay, the first thing I want to point out is email acquisition. Many of you, if I want to sign up for your email list and your website, I have to hunt for it. It's not easy to find. A pop-up is a good idea, and I'm going to talk about pop-ups in a second, but this is a best practice. As few fields as possible, this is the perfect thing. Actually, perfect would be just email address. Next to perfect would be first name and email address. Beyond that, your conversions go down dramatically. So asking for 4 pieces of data is probably too much. If you're going to do that, see this little asterisk, don't make it mandatory. Just make email mandatory, make everything else optional. If you're doing email marketing right, you can get that information later. You can get their last name later. You can get their zip code later through your engagement with your email marketing. Another really great best practice is to allow them to identify themselves. I promise you have lots of sommeliers, wine buyers, store owners visiting your website, and they have no way to identify themselves as such. So the best practice is to have a place for them to identify. This is your first layer of segmentation. And over time, you can build up quite a large list of trade buyers' email addresses. Let's take a quick look in the chat. Oh yeah, I think the final bullet point. In promo emails, jab, 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 right hook. So I'm going to talk about this book in a minute, but Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. Not every post on Instagram needs to be about your wine and a bottle shot of your product. Not every email needs to be a promo email. 3 out of the 4 emails you send should be jabs. Jab, jab, jab. Right hook is the pitch. Jabs are providing information, educational content, engaging things that people have an interest in. Jab, 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 right hook works for your email success. It also works for your nurture sequences. So that's coming up. Thank you for pointing that out. You need to provide reasons to join your email list. Join our email list is not a reason. Sign up for our newsletter, not going to cut it. You have to take emails seriously. And so you need to remove all possible barriers to people joining your list. Too many fields to fill out is a big barrier. Not giving them reasons to join is a barrier. Here's some great examples of this. Here's one of my favorites. I love this one. Get news from Happy Raptor Distilling in your inbox only sometimes, not too much, and not spammy stuff, only good stuff that's actually useful. This compels me to sign up for their email list. It makes me trust them more. You can go and do likewise. Pop-ups are great. Now, some people just hate pop-ups. What you hate are pop-ups that are executed poorly. If you execute pop-ups properly, then they're much less loathsome. And here's the way to do it properly. Get with your web developer, make sure that pop-up doesn't show up until they've been on that page for 15 seconds, which is an eternity in website visitor time. And then program it so that it never shows to returning visitors. This is totally doable, costs you nothing, and makes a big, big difference in your email acquisition. Welcome emails. You need to have an automated welcome email so that if somebody does sign up, they automatically get it. Go ahead and do your double opt-in. Go ahead and make them prove they're not a robot. That's good because you don't want a bunch of crappy, bogus email addresses. But after that, make sure they receive a warm welcome via email. It needs to be short. It can't be too salesy. Very, very fine to offer a discount code, which is a wonderful thank you gift. But these are 3 great examples of welcome emails, and they need to fire off automatically. If I did a survey of all the New York wineries, I hazard a guess of how many of them are not set up with automated welcome emails. Then you need to take it a step further. So here's the Jab, 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 Right Hook book I was telling you about. You need to have an automated 4 email nurture sequence. Email subscribers aren't ready to buy. This is why putting a buy now, shop now ad or post on your social media doesn't work, because people don't come to Facebook and Instagram to shop. They come there to be entertained and engaged. But email is a marvelous vehicle for selling, but you have to warm them up first. You can't take cold new subscribers and try to get them to buy. The good news is this can all be automated. So here's how it works. They subscribe, they get that automated welcome email, which most of you are doing now. But then they need to 2 or 3 days later, they get another automated email, just adding some value. Maybe it's a favorite family recipe. Maybe it's the recipe for your pasta carbonara that you've been serving at your winery for 20 years, whatever. recipe, information, education. Then you do it again 2 or 3 days later, 2 or 3 days later with your third. Jab, jab, jab. Then you put an offer in front of them. You'll find the uptake of purchases really skyrocket when you practice proper subscriber nurturing. After they've gone through the nurture sequence, then they pop into your larger list, where you send out your segmented broadcast emails. You send your newsletter to the people who have an interest in your newsletter. You send wine club information to your wine club members. You send announcements about events to the people who have expressed an interest in your events. I don't have time to go into all the segmenting today, but this is game changing. And the beautiful thing is you set it up once and it just keeps rolling along. Your new subscribers are getting nurtured. And if many of you on this call are on my email list and you see how I do it, so you've experienced it from the other end. Quick check in the chat. How are we doing? Good. Number 6. This is a brief discussion, but it's really critical and becoming more critical. The pandemic taught people that they can get wine and spirits and beer online. And so more people than now are doing it than ever. But there's a little bit of a backlash on what it costs to ship. So you just want to make sure your shipping rates are really competitive. I have done some of your homework for you. I had a summer intern, which I usually do. And one of the projects that I gave him was to do some research on what it costs to ship one bottle. How do I get rid of this toolbar? It's in my way. Oops, there we go. Got rid of it. How much does it cost to ship one bottle, 3 bottles, and 12 bottles? Ground rate, Houston. And you can see they're all over the board. I mean, look at this. Now I remove the names of the wineries to protect the innocent. But look, how can it cost $40 to ship 12 and 1 bottle? You know what's happening here? They're not paying attention. They're not. This looks a little more normal, 16, 20, and 50. Look at this one though. Costs you 21 to ship 1 bottle, 27 to ship 3, and free if you order a case. Now that is smart. That's being really strategic. What an incentive. So my invitation to you is study your own shipping rates, look really closely, and study what other people are doing. Any website that uses Vino Shipper has a marvelous tool right there telling you what it's going to cost to ship it to your house. So do some experimenting on this. Get with your DTC provider. This could be a real game changer. You could be losing a lot of sales because they get to the checkout and they freak out over your shipping and you've never really bothered to inspect it like you should. Let me check the chat. Oh, great question. Could I give some examples of engaging offers for the 4th email? Yeah, so this is a great question. And it's a lot of, we're talking about this right here. It's a lot of trial and error. Maybe a first-time buyer discount, maybe a bundle of some kind. Like one of my clients, at the end of that Chardonnay Lover Style Guide, their offer was buy a bottle of unoaked Chardonnay and a bottle of oak Chardonnay, invite your friends over and do a fun blind testing. Make it fun. That's one thing you can do. Keep it simple. In your first offer email, don't try to get them to buy a whole case. That will come later. Try to put together a little bundle, maybe discount the shipping, make it fun and easy. This should be a layup. A lot of people use it to just break even. They just want to see who's potential, who's a good potential customer. So keep it light, keep it fun, keep it simple, and experiment a lot. That's a great question. Okay, enough about shipping discounts. We're coming to near the end of our list, but there's some good stuff coming up, so please don't drop off. Oh, question on shipping rates. Would you recommend shipping discount versus case discount on wine? If your question is, should you offer a discount when they buy a case? Yes. I mean, you have to play around with the numbers. If that's not your question, please restate it. But the more they buy, your shipping rate, you want to incentivize them to buy a full case, because it really doesn't cost that much more to send a case than it does 6 bottles. And so you want to make sure that's available. I hope that was the answer that you were looking for. Okay, this is a big one. A lot of people tune out when I start talking about this, but please bear with me. People don't go to Facebook and Instagram to shop, as I mentioned. They go to be entertained, to be educated, to engage with other users, to engage with the brands. So, just because you have a lot of fans and followers doesn't mean they're going to buy. But there are ways to convert those people. Look at it this way. The fans and followers want to live vicariously through your social feeds. They want to see themselves sitting on your beautiful patio. They want to see themselves listening to jazz on the deck on a summer night. If your feeds are just look at my wine, look at my wine, look at my score, come here, come do this, it just really turns people off. And the likelihood of them joining your email list just gets pushed further away. So it's okay to ask them to join your email list. Call it like at least once a month, maybe every other week. Even in the description of your post, you should be inviting people to join your email list. In Instagram, you should be using Linktree. Don't just have a link to your web address. Use Linktree. One of the first thing on the Linktree would be to just visit your website, but it could also be to visit other social sites or sign up for this event. That's an Instagram hack that everyone should be using. And if you're not sure what I mean, if at the time at the end, I'll take you in there and we'll take a look at stuff. Don't try to sell with your social feeds. You have to have realistic expectations of what your feeds are for. They're for building engagement and building brand awareness, not for selling. And don't be too self-promoting. It's like shooting yourself in the foot. Here's the rule of thumb. You attract with social media, you sell with email. If you want to turn your massive following on social into paying customers, provide easy ways for them to join your email list. That will just be so much better. That makes sense? Okay, this is another big one. Some of you, if you've been listening to me for a while, you've heard this before, but it's a really big one. And this time I came with some fresh examples because people always ask me, okay, I get it, I believe you, but can you show me some examples? Because I'm stumped at how to actually do this. How do I make the customer the hero of my story? You know what most of these winery stories are. Look at my vineyards, look at my winemaker, look at my wines. How do you not do that, right? Well, you do want to do that at the appropriate time, but those first impressions the customer needs to see themselves in the story. So let me give you some examples of what this looks like. First of all, it starts with knowing who your customer is and what they want. You probably already know a lot about your customers, but you maybe haven't thought about, okay, how can I study what they want and put it into my website? Make sure that's what I lead with when they first visit my website. This takes a little bit of study and a little bit of practice. By the way, if you haven't got the book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, please go order it on Amazon or your local bookstore. Read it. It's an easy, fun read. I have a hard copy and I have it on my iPhone. It's a game changer. It will give you lots of ideas about how to rewrite your story where the customer is the hero. It's done through your messaging on your website, messaging in your emails. It's a reversal of roles. The customer is the hero and your brand, your winery is the guide that helps them get what they want. It helps them have success. So let's take a look at some examples of this. First of all, I just grabbed some snippets off of people's websites. This is what you typically see. Our story, our people, our mission, our winemaker. I really crack up when I see things like this. We aren't like most wineries. Oh, really? Well, there's 16,000 wineries in America. How are you not like other wineries? I seriously doubt that. That's not a very believable statement. I hope it doesn't belong to any of you on this call. I don't think so. I tried to stay out of New York when I was doing this research. Discover the world's most unique wines. Really? Most unique wine? There's 111,000 labels registered by the TTB in America. I seriously doubt your wine is that unique. Our wines, our mission, our winemaker. A lot of people, hey, having a great winemaker, a star winemaker is essential. But the average consumer doesn't really care necessarily. Have the information available, but don't lead with that. I hope I'm not offending any of you, especially if you're a winemaker on this call. I'm saying don't lead with it. Here's what it looks like to lead with the consumer as the hero. I love this. Let's make wine easy on the website for MetaWine. Uniting artists and enthusiasts and you. They didn't leave the customer out of the story. This is powerful stuff. Go read Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was written in the 1940s. It's still legitimate today. Customers resonate with this stuff. Wines made with consideration for the environment, employees, and community simply taste better. This is not a self-centered statement. It's an outward projecting statement. Here's two good examples. I want you to go visit St. James Winery website and just watch what unfolds. To me, this is one of the best practices. What I see when I first get there is a young family enjoying the winery. Then I see the scene changes to a person hosting a family holiday dinner and taking pictures. St. James Winery knows how to put the customer as the hero of the story. Go check it out. Succession wines, where your story blends with ours. You know, I'm not suggesting you purge your identity and your unique selling propositions. I'm saying don't lead with them. There'll be plenty of time for that later. So I hope this is helping. I hope this is resonating. This is just another good example. This is a client that actually changed how they did this. They used to have themselves front and center. Now they want to have a picture of people vicariously enjoying themselves. Let me see how much fun people are having at your winery. Is this helpful? I would love to hear in the comments. Do you think I'm nuts? Does it make sense? Have I awakened new ideas for you? Makes sense. Thank you, Alice. Okay, great. I'm glad. Because I'm totally enamored with the sound of my own voice, and I think all of my ideas are great. So every once in a while, it's good to check in with others. Thank you. Okay. Oh, here's one more. I love this. I forget what winery this is from, but I love the sentiment, the spirit. We have the gift solution to fit your needs. That's front and center on their website. Who are they going after? Customers with gift-giving needs. It's as clear as the nose on their face. I'm sure they have many good things to put in the gift basket. They'll get to that later, but you don't want to lead with that. And in a highly competitive category like we're in, you just can't get away with it anymore. And number 9, don't depend too much on distributors. I probably write and speak about this topic more than any other. It's a little bit controversial because ever since the repeal of Prohibition, you have to have a 3-tier distributor if you want to sell to restaurants and wine shops. That's true, still true. But something has changed in the last 5 or 6 years, and that is the crazy proliferation of new brands and the obscenely dramatic reduction in the number of distributors. All distributors, small, medium, and large, are very overwhelmed. They just can't do what they used to do. So if your expectations today are what they were 5 or 6 years ago, you're going to get left behind. This is the number one mistake that I see brand owners make. They rely too much on the distributors. So the video I told you about before about the role of the distributor, this is the punchline. There are 3 things you can expect from a distributor. 1, hold inventory of your product in their warehouse. B, deliver to the accounts that you and your team have sold to, whether that was digitally or through social media or LibDib or whatever. And potentially match your efforts. You really don't have any business asking them to match your efforts if you don't have any efforts in the market. But the days of them building new distribution for you and selling for you, those days are gone. Anyone else, anyone in the chat have that experience that distributors are just not selling a lot? Here's a comment from Kim. Actually, the federal government confirmed earlier this year that it's up to the states to decide whether they want a 3-tier system. It's not a federal requirement. Yes, that's very true. Well, I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to tangle on that issue, but I don't know. There are control states that act as the role of a distributor, but it's a necessary evil. And so what you need to do is learn the modern way of dealing with distributors. It starts with getting your expectations in line and not expecting too much. If it's important to you, you're going to have to do it yourself. And along with this is focusing on what's scalable. Riding in a car with a distributor, doing in-store tasting demos, doing wine dinners, all good things. They're just not scalable. And if you're a small, you all told me back at the beginning of this webinar that you were pressed for time and limited budgets and not entirely sure where to aim your limited resources. This is a big help to you. Focus on what's scalable. Organic social media, scalable. Email marketing, scalable. Paid social, SEO, lead generation, virtual webinars, virtual tastings, direct-to-consumer sales. That's where I would be putting my time and money. And if I'm going to go into 3-tier, I want to explore digital 3-tier and Winery Direct deals. So I hope that that has been helpful to you. Just to recap, these are the 9 things that we covered today. I hope that each and every one of you took at least one thing away that you can use to help your business. What I shared with you today, though, was just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm excited to help you if you want me to help you. I have a brand new group coaching program, which I didn't have when I saw y'all in February, called the Wine Sales Stimulator. Just go to winesalesimulator.com, check it out. We have classrooms, coaching, and community designed to help you sell more. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Here's some of the topics in the classrooms. Please go check it out for yourself. Right now, I want to devote my attention to getting to all of your questions. So if you got a question, put it in the chat or the Q&A. I never know which one to use, but I have visibility to both of them. We pretty much have just about all the people on the call right now that we started with. We haven't had a lot of drop off. That's always a good sign, but surely you have some questions, and you can ask your question anonymously. If you don't really want, you can just ask anonymously. Okay, explain link tree. Yeah, let me do this real quick. I hope I've got the right terminology. Yeah. Yes, so hold on. I'm going to get another screen going here and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, bear with me. Linktree is instead of in the Instagram, so you can't put links in an Instagram post, but you can put a link in your bio. So most people use that spot to put their website, which is fine. It's better than not having it there, but it is not as effective as the versatility of having Linktree. I'm having trouble with my other screen. Here we go. Okay, now I can show you. Let me move this over. Can you all see this? Hopefully you can.
Yep,
Okay,
you can see.
Okay, so instead of the website in my bio, I have Linktree. It's free. Now I have the paid version because I like to dress it up and have a my branding, but for years I just used the free version. Here's what Linktree looks like when you click on it. I'm totally free, totally free. Now you can, these are the things you can do. So instead of having just one thing to do, which is visit my website, I want to pull people deeper into the journey with me. You can visit the website. You can listen to my latest podcasts. You can check out my latest article, Wine Business Monthly. Here's another podcast. You can visit my YouTube channel. You get the idea. And I mix these up a lot, and I can change the order of them. I can also embed my social links, which is part of the paid version, but it's so handy. So I'm getting a lot of bang for that one click from Instagram. Many of you, I'm sure, are already using Linktree, but if you're not, you've got to get on this. It is a game changer. What's the example of a few Texas and Florida distributor clearinghouses that you would recommend we look into? What a great question, Ben. So you don't look into the clearing distributor, you look into the retailer, and the retail will tell you what clearing distributor they use. So let's talk about Goody Goody first, because this is one that I'm most familiar with. Goody Goody uses a clearing distributor called Chatelaine or Chatelaine. You won't find them on the web. They don't have a website. They don't need one. They get all the business that they need from Goody Goody. But if you approach the Goody Goody buyer and you say, I have, a successful wine in New York. I would love to bring it into Texas, but I don't have a clearing distributor. I don't have a traditional 3 distributor. I want to do a winery direct relationship with you. That's where you start it. And by the way, if you have an interest in this, you got to go watch that video I was telling you about earlier, because it explained exactly what to say, how to do the math. It's just, it's great. So please go back and watch this. Where is it? Here, how to do winery direct, spirits direct sale, right at winesalesimulator.com. But you don't go after the clearing distributor, you go after the account, and then they'll tell you. So if the Goody Goody buyer says, okay, we'll bring in, how about we start with one pallet of your Riesling to start. We do pretty well with, New York Rieslings. Here's how to contact my clearing distributor, and they'll cut the PO. Specs uses a company called United to do theirs. in Florida, ABC and Publix both do it. I think ABC has a deal with, forgive me, I don't remember. It's one of the big ones, one of the big distributors. They do clearing for that. But I hope that answers your question, Ben. The idea is to go through the retail account first. And by the way, this is, don't take this the wrong way, but people who are members of my program, I give them a list of people to approach. So I'm not trying to bribe anybody. Okay. Milkshake. Amy, what are you talking about milkshake? Maybe you want to expand on that. Is that a B2B site or a clearing distributor? I'd be interested to hear more about that. Okay, other questions? Surely there's more questions. Let me go backwards to make sure I didn't miss any. We talked about Linktree. We talked about examples of clearing distributors. Still waiting for more word on milkshake. What else? Any other?
Amy, I did give you the ability to talk if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Sweet.
Hi, it's Amy. Milkshake is an alternative to Linktree.
Oh.
I like to use it because the free version has more customization options. In the free version, you can pick some background images, and you can also embed your social links on the opening page, even if you're not paying. So if you search for Milkshake Linktree, you'll find it on the first hit.
Thank you so much. I'm totally going to check that out.
Yeah, it's I had used Linktree for quite some time, and then someone turned me on to Milkshake, and I just like the look of it better.
Well, I'm so glad that you brought that forth, because we're always looking for free examples. And
yeah. And they do have a paid version, and I think with the paid version, you get more analytics and some more options. But for our purposes, we're happy with the free version.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
By the way, if we run out of time and you have questions, feel free to send me an email, ben@salisburycreative.com. I'm a very fast typer. I'm at my desk all day long. I happily answer all questions through email. And please visit winesalestimulator.com if you want to learn more about the classes and such that we offer. Sure. Oh, we may have a few more questions here. Amy says, you can also design a page on your own website for mobile links. Oh, well, that's cool. Hopefully, if they go from Instagram to that page directly, then I think that would totally work. Thank you, Amy. That's a great idea. Ben, another question. Do you have a favorite winery tech platform for your wineries to use? WineDirect, Commerce 7. Well, this is a loaded question. I know I have no financial relationships with any of those people. And to be honest, I don't do a whole lot of work on fulfillment and DTC platforms. Most of it is about how to get more people to visit your website, how to get more people, on the traffic side of things. So I don't really do a lot of that. I will tell you this. Last week, I attended a webinar hosted by Commerce 7, and I was blown away. I was very, very impressed with what they're doing, but that doesn't take away any of the others. To me, what's far more important is how you're getting the traffic to your website. Because you could use any number of these, and don't be fooled into thinking that just because these companies have a little bit of an email tool built in, or like CRM Lite, that may not be the best use. Very often you need to unbundle your email marketing. Now, from your e-commerce business, especially if you're trying to sell outside of your tasting room. So I hope that helps. I do have a lot of clients use Commerce 7. They use all different kinds of things, but I try to get people not to be too dependent on those platforms for their marketing. They're great for expediting orders and fulfilling orders and staying compliant. Can't be beat for that. And there's many good choices. A lot of the crappy ones have already gone out of business or been acquired. But the real energy and focus needs to be on the marketing, how to get more web visitors, how to grow your email list, how to use those tools to make more sales. I hope that helps, Ben. Okay. I think we're coming to the end here. So maybe time for one more question. And then I have to go because I'm running into another meeting. I hope this was valuable. Thank you for having me. Oh, there's one more question. Couple who spoke about segmenting emails. Can you talk about good segments to have and how to determine what they want? Yeah, so the best segmentation is done through click segmentation. Make sure your emails have places for people to click. So let's say you have a button for, learn about our upcoming summer solstice barbecue, and they click on that, they should automatically get a tag, interested in winery events. Everywhere they click, they should be picking up tags, and these become clues as to how to segment. But some of the broader segments are things like have been to the winery, are a regular newsletter. You have your newsletter list. You go through and see who's opening a newsletter and create a group for your newsletters. Your newsletter open rate should be 60, 70% because you're only sending it to the people who express an interest. So been to the winery newsletters, other kind of demographic information, where they live. Do they live within driving distance of the winery? I would have my list segmented for all the people who live within 50 miles of the winery, so that if I have an event or something happens, I want to speak just to that group. You don't want to waste your gunpowder sending email to people who don't live close to the winery when you're trying to get people to show up for an event. So I hope those are helpful. There's no shortage of information about how to segment them online. So I hope that helps. I'm rushing because we're near the end. What is your expectation with distributors? Sounds like you have none. Well, I had mentioned that earlier in the slides. Watch the replay and check out go to winesalesimulator.com. You will see videos about the role of a distributor. Watch the video called The Role of a Distributor, where I clearly outline my expectations.